wanted to thank everyone for joining this afternoon. We have implemented a new project on the accounts payable side. It's a bolt-on module. You might have seen the MCOM. I have Becky Sheffield, the manager of accounts payable, with me. I wanted to take some time to walk through some of the things that might have changed for y'all and kind of open it up to general Q&A. First part will be just a review process, and then we'll open it up for questions. With that, I'll hand it over to Becky.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks everyone for joining us today for this session. First of all, I want to just briefly tell you what KTM is. It's a Kofax transformation module that extracts data from the invoices and automatically creates invoice headers for us in the system. So it basically eliminates the manual keying that we have been doing. It does take a little bit, about 4 times for invoices to come, 4 different invoices to come in and learn. That's what we call it, to actually learn what the invoice has on it, and then it will pass all the way through and go straight into your inbox. So we ask that you be patient while we're working through this learning curve, and we ask that, currently we say it takes about 3 to 5 days for invoices to get into your system or get into your inbox. This will tremendously speed up, but you've got to give us a little bit of time. So right now, with this being the first week, I would say give us about 1 to 3 days, and then as each week goes, it's going to speed up. And once the invoices have been learned and they come through the system, I would say that it could take as quickly as 1 hour to get into your inbox. So just be patient with us, and if you have any questions after this webinar, you can email me or call me, and we can go over that additional questions that you have. So one of the first things that changed, and due to the fact that this system reads off the invoice, that's why we're having to eliminate handwritten routing instructions. The new system does not read it, and so we're asking you to replace that handwritten or that stamp with stickers. We'll go over the details of that in a minute. I just wanted to hit the 4 items that have actually changed for you. So the handwritten routing has been replaced with stickers. The check requests need to be sent to our accounts payable inbox. The coders and approvers will now be responsible for selecting the wire markup on invoices that are paid via wire. We have a new feature called Scan to Disk, which replaces the old scanning that was done before with the email addresses. This capability is we can read the images better, and the data can be extracted off of the invoices. So if the invoices are clearer and more legible, then we can extract the data. And lastly, we have new fax numbers per division and a new location for our Citrix SmartView folder. We do ask that you do scan to disk if you have that capability on your multifunctional printers. If you don't, then fax would be your next option. So let's go ahead and go to the user guide. And first thing is invoices. Handwritten routing instructions need to be replaced with the printed stickers using the following guidelines. You need to order Avery 5160 labels. When you type up your labels, you need to use Calibri 18 bold font. If you normally hand wrote Route 2 and your name, you now need to type Route 2 and your name. There are some people that their names are different in Atmos People than what the name you actually go by, but we need you to use the name that's in Atmos People, excluding the name that's in parentheses and excluding middle initials. So for example, in Atmos People, I'm listed as Rebecca A. parentheses Becky Sheffield. So on my label, I would put Route 2 Rebecca Sheffield as in the example there. If you normally hand wrote your cost centers, then you would type the cost center, 1120 or whatever your cost center is. We don't need you to put cost center or CC or anything to that effect. I'll show you an example of an invoice with a sticker on it. We ask that you place it in the same spot for the most part, because the system is going to read and learn where it's located. So if you place it up at the top and then the next time you place it in the bottom, it's not going to know where to look. So if you could try to put it in the same, close to the same area, and then make sure that it's legible, and that's why we say bold. Use bold so that it stands out, and don't cover up any information. Don't cover up invoice date or invoice amount or invoice number, bill to, or anything like that. So where this one's been placed is a good location for where the stickers need to be placed. So that is pretty much it on the stickers. On the coding information, so if you have an invoice that is paid via wire, in the past, accounts payable would place that markup for you and put it in your inbox, and you wouldn't have to put that markup on it. You would just code it and approve it, and it would move on. Now you will need to place that markup. To the left of your, in your MarkView inbox, you've got a list of icons, and to the left, if you hover over the icons, it'll give you the names of each one. You'll need to place the wire markup on there. If you do not place the wire markup, it will give you an error message when you try to approve it. If you place the wire markup on it and it doesn't need a wire markup, meaning that it's not a vendor that's paid by wire, it will give you an error message as well. The check request forms haven't changed, but we do ask that you send your check request forms to accountspayable@atmosenergy.com. That is the AP address. We only want you to send check requests to there. All other invoices need to go through either fax or scan to disk. The scan to disk feature is available for the multifunctional printers. If you click on the scan button on your scanner, and it could be a little bit different depending on what printer you have, but this one's for a Ricoh. If you select the scan button and then you select the folder tab, which is highlighted in yellow there in the number 3, and then the buttons will pop up at the bottom. The 4 buttons that you should have are expense report, P-cards, AP follow-up, and AP invoice dash, and whatever division you have or whatever division you are. Of course, expense reports will go through the expense report button. P-cards will go through the P-cards. AP follow-up are invoices that have already been processed and you need to add additional documentation. Example, Align invoices. You can send those through the AP button. And then, of course, all other invoices, excluding check requests, need to go through the AP invoice and then whatever division you are. Once you've got the expense report or the invoice placed on the printer feeder, you put a barcode in front of it. You still need a barcode for all of these documents. Push the appropriate button and send it through. The images are a lot more legible. It can read the barcodes better, and those items will go in pretty quickly. If you don't have the option to scan to disk, then your other option would be faxing. Please make a note that the current 800 fax number and the number 214-276-6467 has been replaced with the numbers listed on the user guide. Each division has their own fax number, and expense reports, AP follow-up, and P-cards have 214-276-6468. Please make note of that because it used to be 6467. So that number has changed. Any email addresses as uncategorized or expense report emails are no longer supported, so do not send anything as through a scan or email to the uncategorized or expense report emails. And then, of course, we give you an example of what the printer looks like, and of course, each printer model could be different. I'm now going to open it up for questions. If you want to type your question in the question box, and Paul will read those out, and we'll give you answers to each one of those questions.
So we got 2 questions already. The first one from Diana. If I do a check request for a specific cost center that belongs to another manager, will it be routed directly to me because of my SIG on the check request?
In the top of the check request, you have the option to put in route to, and you either put a cost center or a name. Whatever you put there is where we're going to send it. So if you put your name, we're going to send it to you. If you put your cost center, we're going to send it to the owner of the cost center.
And I believe there was a clarification that was asked for by one of the individuals. And I'll ask it kind of open-ended. If you could work with your vendors on having them add your name or the cost center to the invoice itself, you can avoid not using stickers in that case. And that would actually provide the information on the invoice in a printed format. Next question we have is, will the RICO copiers be automatically set up?
Yes, they should be, and if they're not, then you need to contact the service desk. They will route the ticket over to the appropriate person, and they will contact you to get that set up.
One further item to add to that is please send the printer name or the IP address, whichever you have available. There was an attempt to push to all the printers, and some might have been missed, so if you can provide the printer name, that would help us expedite it. Then we have a question. I scanned P-card statements this morning, but they didn't go through. I got an error message.
What type of error message did you receive? I know that some of our P-cards went into the manual review queue, and we're working through those. But if we can see what kind of error message you received, then we can help you work through that.
Next question is from Leslie Hicks. Where do you print labels from?
In Word, there is an option to print labels and set up Avery 5160 in that drop-down. So once you do that, it'll pull up a template, and you can print a whole page of labels. If you need any help with that, you can send me an email, and I can walk you through that.
Next question from Ruth is, did I understand you can put your name or your cost center on the sticker?
That's correct. If you want it routed to you, then you need to put on your sticker route to and your name. If you're the owner of your cost center, then you can put your cost center. But there are some people that are not the owner of their cost center, and they want the invoices to go to them. So that's where I suggest you put the route to and your name. Or if you're the owner of the cost center, then you can put 1120 or whatever your cost center is, and that it will go to the owner of the cost center.
Next question is, do we need to specify a subject when emailing check request?
You can just put check request.
there anything they shouldn't put?
I mean, we're going to open it up and see what it is and take care of it. So.
On a check request under special handling instructions, we put our name to send check to. Will this remain the same?
Yes, nothing for the check request has changed. The form has not changed. It's just where you send it.
Not all my invoices are typed. Some are handwritten. Are these okay?
If you cannot get the vendor to switch over to a typed invoice, and this is the only way they can send it in, then we'll accept it. Those will be exceptions. We'll accept those.
I missed the part on the check request. I understood we emailed those. Is that correct?
Yes.
Next question. For invoices that vendors send in directly to AP, are those still getting manually routed?
If vendors are sending them to us, then they're either sending them through the mail or they're sending them through our AP inbox, and we are routing those and processing those electronically through our new KTM system.
Next question is from Jeff. Who is taking care of the printer push? Many of ours were missing for some reason. We can take this offline. If you can either email the service desk or myself, Paul Puckett, the printer name or IP, I will get that taken care of for you. Next question is from Mary Smith. I scanned in 2 invoices a few hours ago. Should they have hit my inbox by now?
Yeah, earlier we talked about to be patient with us and give us 1 to 3 business days to get those processed.
Does every invoice need a label?
You only need a label if you originally hand wrote your routing instructions. Wherever there's a handwritten routing instruction, you would replace it with a label that either has route to and your name or the cost center.
I scanned some check requests before the call. Will they still be processed?
Yes.
I have never had a wire invoice. What is it?
It's just a vendor that's paid by wire. Some of our Align invoices or some of our bigger vendors, MetLife, some human resource invoices are paid by wire. And you would know if your vendor was paid by wire.
Due to the new MarkView update, invoices should appear within 24 hours or so. Is that correct, or After how long should we contact someone if our invoices have not shown up yet?
1 to 3 business days until we can get back on track. Each week this process is going to speed up, but I'm telling everyone right now because we're getting comfortable with the system. It's new. Give us 1 to 3 days. And then contact your AP contact. So whatever division you're in would depend on who your AP person is.
Can we still use the same barcode pages for each invoice, or do we need a new barcode page?
Same barcode. Just put a barcode in between each invoice, just like before. Next question, do we need to print new barcodes? No.
Invoices like UPS are automatically sent to my MarkView. Will that stay the same?
If they're sent to us through the mail or emailed, then yes, they will still go through the same way.
I submitted a check request this morning with CC on it. How do I know if it has gone to the manager of the CC, or can I get it back to coded correctly?
If at the top of the cost center, you put at the top of the check request, there's a box that you're either going to put a name or a cost center. If you put a cost center, then it's going to go to the owner of that cost center. She said, does she know if it's gone to the manager? I mean, it's going to go to the owner of that cost center. We already answered that.
You use the stickers if the invoice is in MarkView and all it needs is coding, example, water bill.
No.
I understand the wire invoice. I do not understand the wire invoice. Please explain.
I need a little bit more information if they want to go offline.
If the invoice doesn't show up in 3 days, who should we contact?
Your AP contact for your division.
Next question is, if I don't know who my AP contact is, who do I contact then?
Contact me and I'll give you the name.
I process invoices for our marketing team. They handwrite the coding for me on the invoices. Can they continue doing that for me?
Yes.
Should they put a sticker on top of it? Or?
No, not for coding. That's not a routing or cost center.
Do you just put the CC number and nothing other than the number?
You just put the number. Just put the cost center number.
I sent invoice in 8/11/2014, so last week. Should I be concerned?
Yes, you need to contact your AP division, and I will provide a list. The next question is, will you provide a list? Yeah, I'll provide a list. I'll give it to Paul, and he can attach it after this call.
Next item is, if the invoice finally appears after a project has closed, will y'all reopen the project?
That is a plant accounting question. It depends on the project. It depends on everything related to the project. So plant accounting would be able to answer that for you.
Is there a contact for that?
I would start with, well, Kara Persona, but she's Jason Schneider.
Since all we need is a CC number, does it really matter what size we use?
We're just trying to be consistent, so everything looks the same.
Do new barcode cover pages need to be generated?
No.
That's the end of the questions right now. Got another one in from Leslie. Do the servicemen who send in expense reports need to know to scan the disc on the printer? Anyone who is sending in expense reports needs to know to scan the disc on the printer. We had asked the field support analyst to tape the job aids to printers for their reference, but if they do send in expense reports, they do need to use the scan to disc folders functionality. Alrighty, we're at 2:31 now, and that appears to be all the questions we had. Just to wrap up, I want to thank everyone for joining today. We got one last question. We'll get that one. And I sent in an invoice with the note to see attached W-9. Can we still do this?
Send your W-9 separate and send it to Bill Tucker. Don't send it in with the invoice.
So a quick recap, I will send out the Q&A to everyone on the distribution list afterwards, including a PDF version of the job aids that we walk through on this call. Becky will supply me with a spreadsheet of the AP contact for each division. We'll distribute that as well. If you have any printers that do not have the scan to folder buttons on them, please contact the service desk or myself. Please be sure to include the printer name or the IP so we can expedite the request and get it corrected quickly. And one item just popped up as far as the question goes. Several people were omitted from the distribution list for this call. Can this distribution list be updated? we can work to update it. We ran something based on rights in our system related to who was a executive assistant, who was an operational assistant, who was an FSA. We can definitely update that list appropriately. If you could send me some of the names that were omitted, I can figure out what happened and why they don't have the appropriate rights in our system. That's all we got for today. Appreciate everyone's time, and we'll go and wrap up. Thanks.
Thank you.